Good evening, everybody. It is March 31st, 2025 at 5:30 p.m. This is a meeting of the Communication and Policy Committee for the Concord School Board. My name is Cara Meeker. I'm the chair. With me tonight are board members Jim Richards, Liz Boucher, and Barb Higgins. Also with us tonight from the district is Kathleen Murphy and Karen Fisher-Anderson. Tonight we are going to be looking at a series of policies that we have seen all but one before. Just going to read them out loud for the record. Policy 161, 161.1, 544, 528, 528.1, 528.2, and policy 303, actually, which we have seen before because we passed the 300s not too long ago, but it sounds like maybe we're revisiting a little.
It's a brand new one.
Brand new one.
Oh, it's a brand new
Remember
300.
You asked
That's right.
When we
Yep.
talked, I think maybe it came from Jim.
That's
he asked
right.
if we could have a policy on electronic signature.
That's right. So it came up when we
So
talked
we
about
did a
the
little
300s.
research and found some and some samples,
Perfect.
and so put something together for you.
Wonderful. That's great. Good to know. Before we proceed, is there any other additions, modifications, or questions about the agenda from board members? Great. All right. So with that, we're going to go in order. We're going to be looking at policy 161, and I'm going to let Karen give us a rundown of what we're looking at.
Okay, thank you. All right, so 161 you have seen several times, substantively. The last time we looked at it was because New Hampshire School Board Association, the night after we met the meeting before, within hours had come up with some changes. So the last time we looked at this, we went over the substantive changes that were recommended. I am happy to restate those for you if you want to, because these are clean copies. If you would like me to, I'm happy to do that. The other thing that we did this time around, and I hope you like it, is that Bridget and I have come together on, we always work together on these, but we, I think, are getting better at the formatting piece. That's been our goal. And so the big difference that you're going to see on 161, if we can just talk formatting first of all, is when you had it the last time around, you had it where it just went right into the prohibition against discrimination and harassment, which is the go-by for the New Hampshire School Board Association. But the way we do our policies normally is we like to have our purpose statement. And when I went back and I looked at it, I thought, you know what? We can take that part of it, the introduction and general policy against discrimination and harassment, which was part of the School Board Association go-by, and it really worked pretty well as a purpose. So I wanted to point that out to you. That is a change. Normally in our purpose section, we don't make it a Roman numeral 1. We just put it out there as a purpose, and then we don't number the paragraphs. So what we're hoping now is that we've got that straight, and so I put that out in front of you. Would you like me to restate the changes that were made from the last time, or would you all just like a chance to go through it and ask questions? Because I can do it either way.
Yeah, well, if I have the copy from before, so I will note that I see that the purpose section is no longer numbered. Let me ask this question. Are there any additional changes that you've made that were not reflected in red text in the previous draft?
No.
Okay, then
Let's just read it.
yeah, I would say let's just read it. If you have your copy from last time, if you'll remember, there was in section 2D some language on the Boy Scouts of America.
Yep.
That was
And then all the way on page like 5, like number 3, after that section, there was a section 4 that should be completely gone.
deleted.
Correct. Yep.
And then there's an addition of a citation. So that really should be it. So if you guys want to take a minute to read 3D and make note that there is no longer a section 4 on page 6, then we should be good to go. What I will say while you guys are looking at that, when the board sees it in the board book, we will need to show both the amended version and the clean version so that they can see the amendments. It should be pretty easy to do.
The one that has the.
Yeah, exactly.
The one you just used, the one that's all red lined.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So,
correct.
and then just with minor changes, which is
Right.
Yeah, we did make the purpose.
Karen had taken out the words "that is" from the, so there's a tiny bit of cleanup, but other than that, it's just to give them the visual of the amendment, because
We have that, so she can
technically anyone on the board can comment or make motions regarding any part of the language, but also from the like, the committee will bring the proposed amendment, and the board could vote not to accept it. I don't know why they would do that, but,
Cara, where
There.
did you see the wording that is? I want to make sure.
oh, as part of the Boy Scouts language?
Oh, okay, got it. Okay, yeah. Okay. Where did we, yeah, I redacted it, in front of intended to serve young people.
Right, so you
Got
can
it.
just clean that up, because
Yep.
we don't need it.
Okay, so I'll redact that one. Redact. Okay. And also, I should highlight the formatting change too?
Sure.
Okay.
Oh, no, I mean, no.
No,
No,
just
no.
leave the format alone. Okay, you got it.
The content has.
Yeah,
to
we
be-
Just
don't
the
vote on
content.
format, yeah.
Okay.
All right, does anybody have any questions, comments, or additional changes to policy 161?
And I did not get any additional feedback from anyone via email, so, on the board, because it has been in the board packet for a first read.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So I'm going to make a motion. This is not a motion to move it to the full board. It's a motion for the committee to approve of the proposed amendment to the policy on second reading. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Liz Boucher. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. All right, 161.1, please.
Okay. Much like 161, 161.1 had some last-minute edits from the New Hampshire School Board Association, and particularly those were pointed out as starting in the definition section on page 2. I added the definition of complaint, and then for areas of who they complain to based on the content of the complaint that's outlined. I also eliminated the human rights officer as a definition. So these are all things that we talked about the last time. There was the capitalization of the word complaint under the complaints and initiation of formal grievance process section, a capitalization of the grievance process in another section. And then more substantively, where we talk about the level 2, on your page, it would be the level 2 process for an appeal. Let me make sure I get this right. Sorry. Level 2, I believe it's page 5. There was some change to one of the sentences in the second paragraph, that the superintendent or designee may determine to remand the matter to the investigator for further investigation or consideration. Okay? And then under level 3, which is the next section, para 9, it talks about level 3 appeals, what they have to be based on. And there's 3 particular bases upon which you can appeal. The following sentence just talks about, and I deleted appeals for any other reason, and I deleted or upon any determination of responsibility not included in the written appeal will not be heard. So that was added. And then the only other change under section 3 is in the second to the last paragraph about the school board president being able to confer with the attorney.
Can I stop you right there just real quick?
Yep.
It looks like you've been working on the formatting, which is great.
Yep.
In what is now on page 6, 9B.
Yep.
Level 3 appeals may only be based upon one or more of the following grounds. I believe that the list of the following grounds is actually only 1, 2, and 3. And then instead of 4, 5, and 6, that would actually just be bumped out to be C, D, and E.
Correct.
Because it's it's not part of that original list.
You're right. Yep.
So we'll just need to.
So we'll just unnumber those. I don't know how that,
Yeah,
okay.
we'll just have to
Got it.
move the tab over, and it should
Yeah.
re-letter to C, D, E, and F.
Your
Okey-doke.
ability to notice these things.
It's great.
It's a blessing and a curse, Barb. All right. Anything else?
I'm like, it looks good, it reads well, I
And-
understand it.
and-
Oh, wait, letters should be
And
numbers.
Kara,
Yeah.
that goes for number 7.
Yes, that should be F.
That should be F, right?
Yeah.
Okay. How do I miss that one? Okay, good.
Actually, should it be I'm looking at it, right? 3, no, we didn't actually number it. Let me look at yours. So you've got 3, we did away with 4, 5, and 6. So it actually should not be, it should be what, let me think here. So level 3B is 1, 2, 3, and then it should just be indented out, because you're saying get rid of 4, 5, and 6, correct?
I'm not saying get rid of them,
The
label
numbers.
Just make them C, D, E, E, and
Yeah.
F.
because they're not part of the
Because
series.
they really come back to the.
C, D, C, oh, I see, yeah.
See that?
D, E, yeah, F, and then 7 becomes
Yeah.
G or F?
No,
F.
F.
Maybe
4,
C, D,
5,
E.
6, 7 becomes C,
Oh, that's
D,
B,
E.
gotcha, F.
All right.
I think I got that. Okay, and then we go on to the confidentiality piece is good. I don't think there were any changes, let me just look. On J, which was, I'm sorry, it's now district actions, which is 6. We added the code of conduct.
Yep.
So all of the other things that we talked about were added, nothing else was changed.
Right.
And so hopefully it meets with your approval. Any numbered numeric paragraph that only has one paragraph, we did not number.
That's right. That
We're
works
getting
great.
good, better.
I know, you guys are nailing it.
Although training, it looks like we may let you down on training because I'm looking at a single one.
But it's a long paragraph.
It's okay.
So I'll go over that again, so.
Okay.
Yeah, you're gonna remove that one.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Does anyone have any further questions, comments, or changes to policy 161.1?
No.
Okay. With that, I move that the committee approve the proposed amendment to policy 161.1 to the full board for second reading.
Second.
Seconded by Barb Higgins. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. All right. Policy 544, is that right? Next one?
Correct. Yep, on the agenda, that would be the next in order. So, that one just came up, obviously, last, I guess it was yesterday, Monday? Yeah, Sunday. And I took a look at the language as requested. I know you probably want to talk about it. Looks like the big changes, I did take some time and I looked at it. Looked like the big change that was submitted was not only do we have the power to, and it's already in there, to notify local law enforcement if somebody has, uses a weapon or a firearm in a threatening, harassing, or intimidating manner, but it looks like there was a request that we also consider that if a member of the public refuses to remove their weapon or firearm after being requested to do so, that we could also report to federal law enforcement. So I did rework the language a little bit. I'd be happy to share that if you'd like to hear it, or if y'all wanted to just talk about whether or not you want that addition.
Yeah. Well, let's start with, just so everybody knows where we are, this would be inserted into Rome 2.
Correct.
1, on page 1, the final sentence of that paragraph, members of the public who violate this policy may be reported to local law enforcement authorities if possession of the weapon or firearm is used, I read that weird, but is used in a threatening, harassing, or intimidating manner. What Pam would like to see is prior to that sentence, members of the public who violate this policy will be asked to remove their weapon or firearm from the premises immediately. If they refuse, they may be reported to the appropriate federal law enforcement. That is the sentence. She accidentally wrote that twice, but
And then would be a period, and then it would say, then it would go again to members of the public who violate this policy may be reported to local.
right. So her second sentence actually looks the same as what is in existing policy. So it's really the first two sentences that are her proposed amendment. Members of the public who violate this policy will be asked to remove their weapon or firearm from the premises immediately. If they refuse, they may be reported to the appropriate federal law enforcement. I think maybe she means may be reported to the appropriate federal law enforcement agency. Yeah. So
Period or comma.
period.
And then what's next?
And then what's next is the existing sentence. Members of the public who violate this policy may be reported to local law enforcement
Got it.
authorities. So I think what Pam's intention is that she would like us to be very deliberate that if we see a weapon or a firearm on school premises, we will ask that they remove it immediately. If they refuse, we may, or whoever is in charge, has the right to contact federal law enforcement. I'm looking at Kathleen and Karen. So I want to talk
understand
about.
what she's saying,
Yeah.
because she's seeing it as a violation of federal law, which you all know. The problem is, who's the federal law that we call? Who is it that we call up on
ATF
a
probably.
Saturday morning when somebody's using our
Yeah.
facility, when in fact I can call the Concord police and they're there in a heartbeat? And again, it has to be if they're using it in an inappropriate way, i.e. harassment or threatening. So I understand what she was doing, because she sees it as a violation of federal law, safe and drug-free school zones, right? 1,000 feet away from the school building. My question is, I've got somebody up there, a custodian or somebody monitoring some event, and who are they gonna call? Who's the federal people, the agency that she
So
calls?
the way I would look, this is where it gets tricky. How I look at that is,
ATF, right?
you'd obviously call local law enforcement, because that's the person you call. But you could also, in the processing of the event, report to federal agencies that this event happened. Not that you'd call them to come help you.
Yeah, I'm not sure I read it that way.
That's how I took it, but that's
Yeah.
just how I took it.
So
Can you read her again?
I have
I
it right
will.
here.
I can read it. Oh, you
Just
go-
read what Pam asked us.
So Jim's
Jim.
gonna read it, and then Liz has a brochure on what to do in a gun-free school zone. So we'll read that next. Go ahead, Jim.
So, okay. The
just sit.
suggestion is members of the public who violate this policy will be asked to remove their weapon or firearm from the premises immediately. If they refuse, they may be reported to the appropriate federal law enforcement agency. Members of the public who violate this policy may be reported to local law enforcement authorities if possession of the weapon or firearm is used in a threatening, harassing, or intimidating manner.
Yeah, that, to me, the word may just sort of indicates that it's something that could happen. Not that standing there, you're gonna call on the phone.
That's how I see it. We use the word may.
I interpreted it exactly as Barb did, that this is something that we may report it to them. It's not
Right.
looking for immediate action, but it could be giving
Your refusal
The
could be
district-
reported to federal,
yeah,
the federal.
and it gives the district flexibility in a situation where, I don't know exactly why, but where we felt it necessary to notify federal officials
Yeah.
about the violation of that law.
But the reality of
Reality
it
is you're gonna call
is
them.
nothing happens because it's not a violation of New Hampshire law, which allows them to carry a weapon. So
I think it's just enforcing the federal.
The federal
It's
piece.
just putting
Or
more
addressing the
language, it's
federal.
addressing
Yeah.
it, to say there is
because
a
I can't
federal
enforce
law.
it. I
Right.
cannot
So I
enforce
think
it.
it's just putting more
Meat into the.
meat
Yeah.
into
I,
it to say that
I
there's.
understand what she's
And also
doing.
gives
I'm just
verbiage
trying
in
to
the sense that
make
if you're
sure-
standing face to face with somebody, look, you're refusing to remove the gun, I understand, but I have the ability or whatever to report this to federal agencies because it's a violation of federal law. Now you can say it, it's in your policy, maybe that would get them to take the gun away.
Yeah,
So
and-
can
Maybe you
can
flip sentences.
I was
That's what
thinking-
I did.
Yeah, actually
That's-
that,
If I could, may
Local
I
first and
propose
federal
a
second.
different?
Yes, so I'm gonna let Liz read this real quick, and then we're gonna talk about Karen's amendment to the amendment.
This is a nice trifold that just gives you a number and the website you could go to. So I wonder if even the website.
So if you have any questions, contact the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and
And
Explosives in DC, and then it has a
202-927-7770.
DC phone number. So do we think that it is appropriate to name the federal agency that has jurisdiction over the safe?
I do, and I think I would insert the number.
Okay.
And remember, these policies are used when people register to use our facilities. They see the policies that are in place around facility use and
right,
things
yeah,
like
so that
this.
would be there,
Yeah,
Right.
which
When-
could maybe make them leave the gun at home.
well, we've had that situation happen. Simply asked if they would remove it, and they did. No questions asked, but, because it was visible and
Yeah.
it got people a little concerned.
And
Do you have that brochure?
I do, and there's also, I'll give you the link, because on the ATF website, there's an ATF tip line. So
Okay.
anyone could actually, not that we put that in the policy, but
You could
anyone
submit
could
an
actually
anonymous
submit
tip.
Yeah.
a tip.
All right.
I see this as, just we would, of course, ask them to please remove it. If they did not, and they were using it in a harassing manner or so, threatening manner, then, you know, we would notify local authorities. But depending on what happened, we may also want the district to notify federal authorities. which is
And that's what
think
I like.
That sentence is for.
I like the flip of it
Yeah,
as
same
a,
here.
as a
That's-
resolution, because that's the first thing I'm gonna do. I mean, we
Is look
always go to
all
them first.
Right.
And then if I have the ability to report it, let's say at the end of the event, I get a call, then whoever's in charge says this happened, then I can make a determination to call at that point and not in the moment.
Right.
That's all I was concerned about, that there was an expectation that you would call in the moment.
So,
Yeah.
Karen, why don't you read your amendment to the amendment, and I'm gonna text Pam and ask her what her intention was, because I think we are interpreting her language in a certain way, which is, at some point, if you
Right.
feel it
Right.
necessary, you may contact federal law enforcement. But I don't think there's anything in Pam's language that says that that was her intent, so I'm just gonna
Right.
text her real quick and ask. Okay, so you go ahead. Go, Karen.
Okay, so it's very similar to what's there, except for, I thought it got a little confusing between local and federal. So, members of the public who violate this policy will be asked to remove their weapon or firearm from school property immediately and will be reported to local law enforcement if the weapon or firearm is used in a threatening, harassing, or intimidating manner. If an individual of the public refuses to remove their weapon or firearm after being requested to do so, they may be reported to federal law enforcement.
There you go. That makes a lot more sense. That the two sentences tie together better than just having this sentence.
And it's local and then federal.
And yes, first we respond in a
And
local manner.
the only other change was, she said removal from the premises. Since this deals specifically with school property, I
Yeah,
just.
school property.
School property.
Premises is vague.
If you like, if that's okay.
Our goal here is to maintain a safe environment for our students, and
Right.
to promote the safety of our students, and that's what we're addressing this for.
I understand that, Jim, and I totally agree. I just need to make sure that the policy is one that our staff, who are overseeing
Can
these
manage.
things, understand it and manage it and know what to do. That's what policies do. They guide them in the decision-making when there might not be an administrator available.
Right.
All right, Pam concurs. Her intent was for, at some point, it could be able to be reported to the federal law
Right,
enforcement.
right.
So I
Okay.
believe that the intent here is consistent with what she is requesting, and I think Karen's language articulates better
Yeah, the same
what
thing.
we're all trying to get at.
Yes,
I'm fine with
I'm
that.
comfortable with the
Yeah,
language.
same.
And she also wants, the purpose of the amendment is she wants staff to feel empowered to say, please take your gun off school grounds. So she wants that in the policy. So it's more of empowerment.
Thank you, Pam.
So, all right, I'll say it. Liz says thanks. I'll tell her to tune in. All right. Okay. Karen, do you feel you have the language you need for us to approve an amendment?
I think if you're happy, if you want to make changes to what I proposed, or when you say, am I happy?
Do me a
do you
favor
wanna
and
go-
read it one more time,
Yeah.
so everybody
Okay, and
hears
I'll
it
go
again.
slow. Okay, members of the public who violate this policy will be asked to remove their weapon or firearm from school property immediately and will be reported to local law enforcement if the weapon or firearm is used in a threatening, harassing, or intimidating manner. And instead of may, I made it will be, okay?
Yep.
If a member of the public refuses to remove their weapon or firearm after being requested to do so, they may be reported to federal law enforcement.
Okay, great.
I'm fine with that.
Does that hit it?
I think so. I'm gonna have, because ultimately it's Pam's amendment.
Yep.
We are we would vote to be in support of Pam's amendment to the policy on second reading. But I want Pam to give the thumbs up once we support it. We'll send language. Okay.
And I CC'd her in this email to
Thank you.
Kathleen.
All right. All right. Do I have a motion?
Oh, I was just gonna ask you if you were gonna do a motion.
Yep.
Okay.
So moved.
hold on. Is there a motion to approve Pam Walsh's amendment for policy 544 on second reading to the full board? So moved. Seconded, and seconded by Barb. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion passes.
Sorry, not to intend to hurry you along there.
No, it was perfect. Just
Sure.
want to make sure that
That's fine.
when I go back and
So
type
we'll
minutes,
just
I've
include
said it
that
out
in.
loud.
I think so.
Yeah, okay.
If she likes the language, so.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
See language.
All
And
right.
that language would go exactly where you began, members of the public, under section 2, paragraph 1 on page 1.
Yes.
So. Okay.
Otherwise, I'm pretty good with it.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be good.
Okay.
I was gonna make a joke, but we're live. On to 528, accommodation of pregnancy and related medical conditions related to students.
Okay. All right, 528. So, much like what we've already done on the first few, we talked substantively last time. I had added a couple of paragraphs back in from the original the existing policy at the time, and they show up here now. And also, I believe it was Liz had requested under definitions section that we add reasonable accommodations to be, is this the one where we added them? I think, yes, we added them for consistency so that it matches 528.1.
So this, I think they were actually in 528 and we added them to 528.1.
Oh, added for consistency, okay.
Or actually,
They're in 528.
They're in 528, okay.
yeah, but
All
they're
right.
different now.
In
So-
528.1. What had happened was frequent breaks previously on the 17th had been a paragraph unto itself, but it's really A through, so you look at A through J. The other thing that happened was, and I guess I have it backwards between which happened first, 528, the change from 528 or 528.1.
Oh, because I'm looking at the old policy. My bad. Sorry.
No problem.
Yep.
So
Yes, thank you.
So we do have now, okay, so we do have the definition section, then we have A through J. The one thing I did want to point out to you is that, make sure, because I had it as 528.1, pregnancy students, right? 8. Okay. Related medical, yeah. Well, see, it's funny, because under 528 for students, it did not have accommodations as a definition in the go-by. We had just pregnancy and related medical conditions, and then we added reasonable accommodations. Let me see if 128.1 for personnel is, let me see, different. Yes. See, I think it was in the personnel and we added it to 528.
Yep,
Is
you're
that
right.
possible?
Yep, no, you're
Okay.
right, because we had talked about the difference between modifications.
Yep.
Remember this
Yep,
fun
I
thing?
do, and accommodations.
Not to trigger
accommodations.
everyone again,
Yep.
but
Okay.
Could you accommodate me right now? Not go through this again?
sorry.
Or I might need you to modify your
We're just
presentation.
gonna skip to the end, so that
Okay.
nobody is triggered.
I was like, oh my goodness.
But yes, we're good.
my
We
God.
have changed modifications to accommodations. We have
Yeah.
related medical conditions. We made those terms consistent, and then we added accommodations to the definition section.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, good. And when we moved reasonable accommodations to a definition section under 528, we also brought forward A through J, just to be completely transparent. Those show up later in the New Hampshire School Board Association go-by, but it made much more
They'll be
sense to
okay.
put them
They'll
there.
live. Yeah.
Because that's where they go.
We did.
I just wanted you to
Our
know
order is
that.
better.
So,
Yeah.
okay. So other than that, I did change as in light of our discussion. We added a couple of other small things, like under district and employee responsibilities, which I believe now is section 3, number 3. no, number 2, we had gone from just informing the Title IX coordinator, we added in the school counselor, the building principal, and the Title IX coordinator. I did change the language as requested on modification to accommodation under section 4, para 2, and also para 3 went from modification to accommodation. And then lastly, under supporting documentation, it's 6-2. That one was changed as well. Other than that, I made no additional changes.
Well, complaints, take that one off at the end.
Where?
Page 4, complaints.
Are you seeing what I'm saying? So can
Complaints
we,
report.
I have a 1 on mine.
yeah. I don't think
Oh,
I'm
'cause
seeing
you have a
those.
newer edition.
Yeah, the new edition, take that off.
I was
Well,
gonna say,
let's
I'm
see.
not sure if we have your edition, because like, for instance, I'm looking at page 3, Rome 3.
You were
Yeah, I'm using mine.
yeah.
I'm using mine. I'm sorry, because
That's okay.
there's a
So,
new.
It sounds like
Use the new one.
I got the one that-
modification
yeah.
will be updated to accommodation.
Correct.
Page 2, on Roman 3:3.
Yeah, so each one of those
Yes.
paragraphs still has the word modification in it, but Karen was reading it as accommodation, so I think she
Yes.
just has the updated version.
Oh, I see.
The 4. Oh, wait a minute, that's weapons. That's not helpful. Too many. Related. 1, 2, 3. Okay.
This is how my house looks.
I know, mine too, to be
I'm
honest.
just like,
Isn't it crazy?
Just piles of
When it's
paper.
everywhere.
Yeah.
District and employee 2. There was one though that I looked, okay. Let me be sure here, get them all right. So, I'm looking at 4. What I have is 3. No, it's actually 3. Roman numeral 3 was changed to, no, it wasn't, modification, okay. No, you know why I didn't change that one? I started to, as we talked about it last time. Remember we had the conversation and I said, I don't think that they ought to be able to change, you all control policy, they can do practices and procedures. But the way the district may make reasonable it's modifications to practices or procedures. It's not accommodations to the kids, to the students. So that one I think is a true modification.
Yeah, I would agree. You're modifying how you're, yeah.
If you follow me, Cara. You get that one?
Yep, so you're talking about Rome 3, number 2?
Yes, so I didn't change
Does that
I
apply
left
to
it.
Rome 3, number 3 then as well?
So number
Yeah,
3, I
both.
think student may accept or decline reasonable accommodations offered by the district. On that one, because the accommodations are those that are listed under
Right, is what is
para 3
offered
under
to them.
definitions.
Okay.
So that one should be accommodation.
Because it is not a practice or procedure.
Correct. If y'all agree with me on that one. I think that one is an accommodation. And then I believe
And it's
there's.
twice in that sentence.
It's in there twice, by the way.
Okay, let's see. Let's go back then. Let's fix that. Oh, I see. Yeah, below it as well, that's what you're talking about. Yep. Okay. And then I believe, was there one more? Yes, there's one more, under supporting documentation.
Okay.
Which is para 5, number 2, I believe.
So that needs to say reasonable
Accommodation. Yep. To make or whether to take accommodation there. Okay.
Yeah, right.
All right. So if we are feeling good about consistency in the document for where it needs to say reasonable accommodation, where it needs to say related medical condition to match the term, the defined term. So I think we still need to do that. And then other than those terms needing to be updated, which I'm happy to help with, I would be comfortable moving it to the full board with those changes. Does anybody have any questions, comments, or?
I'm
addi-
confused, Cara, I apologize.
That's okay.
When you're talking about the defined term, you were just talking about what?
Yeah, so for instance, in our definition section, the defined term is related medical condition, but then in the document itself, they refer to it, I think it probably came from the NHSBA, as a related condition.
Just gotta put the
Oh,
word
yes.
medical.
So
in
we,
there.
For
we just,
consistency.
we just want to make our document consistent with our definition
Yeah,
section.
I understand. Thank
So
you.
it's just a quick pass, a technical update.
For consistency.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, perfect.
All right, anybody else? Does anybody have any comments, changes? All right, with that, I will accept a motion to move to the full board on first reading.
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Higgins,
Second.
seconded by Ms. Boucher. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
If I could just put a little reminder out there, mostly to myself, but to you all as well, is when you get to the second read, if you repeal and replace, then please, I think you still need to remove the old one, right? Or is that a different, is that all done in one?
What
Or
I
do
would
we-
likely do is I would make a motion to repeal 528.
And replace.
And then make a separate motion to add a new policy, 528.
Perfect.
I mean, I can look up procedurally if we can do it in one motion, but
I would separate them out. It's
Okay. Yeah.
much cleaner.
Okay, and that way I can take it off, I'll know when it comes off the chart as the old one, so, okay.
the one issue with repeal and replace is that if we do record, we would just need to note that in the, like if we have a thing at the end that says replaced in, 2025.
Instead of revised.
Instead of
it's
revised.
replaced,
Well, we
yeah.
do have that on the last page.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see it? It says repeal and replaced date
Yeah.
on the new policy.
On the-
I'm holding the old
We did
policy.
put it
I-
in
yeah.
under 528, right? If you look at the very last page.
Yep,
Oh, there it is.
Yeah, okay.
On the very end.
So we
yes,
did
thank
that,
you.
so we would know
Cool.
in the date.
okay.
But that's after the second read, though.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we have
oh, yeah.
time.
Yeah,
I
'cause
just
this
didn't
is
want it to
going
get
in as
forgotten.
first read.
Yep.
Yep,
Okay,
okay.
all right.
All right.
All right, feeling good? How about 528.1?
Yep, okay, so 528.1, this will be a new policy for us. Because we only had the one for student, now we have a separate one for personnel. And, again, we came in with our purpose. I think it's very, very similar to 528, obviously, other than the fact that it does relate to employees. Okay, 528, let me keep going, 528.1. So, last time around, this is the one we did add. Nope, yes. I'm confusing myself again, is this the one we
It's
no,
all
it
good.
wasn't in 528, so it was in 528.1, but I had it running on it. When I got down to the definition of reasonable accommodations, there hadn't been the clear break on A through J. There is now, so you should be good.
Nope, looks good.
HI, except for I'm noticing. Why do we have, oh, you know why I bet? I just want to compare because we have one extra letter on the student one that we don't have on the personnel one for the accommodations. Frequent breaks, intermittent absences. I think it's the intermittent absences to attend medical
It's the
appointments.
difference. Yeah.
Okay.
Right, so
that's
it's
the
totally
difference.
fine. It's just because the last time we saw this, it wasn't formatted, like the what should have been A in the series.
Correct.
Just wasn't properly lettered, so now we have it, so
A,
we're
B,
good.
C. But I was noticing on 528, we went all the way up to J.
Oh,
and we
I
only
see. Oh, I
go
see
to
what you're saying.
I.
Mhm.
So it is the intermittent doctor's appointments, it looks like.
Okay.
That doesn't appear. Counseling, and there are, I take it back, there are differences. It's pretty, just I point those out to you for students and personnel, obviously. Parking spaces, our students don't always drive.
Yeah,
So on
yeah,
and so forth.
and I'm pretty sure we chatted about that the
Yep.
last time.
So, with that in mind, looking at my 528.1,
We had very minor changes. Most of the changes were made. We do need to, again, update the related conditions to related medical conditions. But again, I'm happy to help with those updates. And it is, I believe we were ready to move it to the full board last time with amendments, but
Yeah.
we
Wanted
just
them all to go
wanted them all
together.
together. So as of right now, do I have a motion to move policy 528.1 to the full board for first reading?
So moved. Oh, second.
Moved and seconded.
Liz, and then Barb.
And then Barb, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Cruising through.
Superintendent, I assume that nothing in these policies is in opposition to something in our collective bargaining agreement. I would
No.
think that that's already been looked at, right?
Yeah, no,
I assume.
yeah, it's pretty standard.
Mhm.
okay, so 528.1, and now to 528.2. Okay.
All right, so I'm looking at 528.2. It looks
Okay.
like we just had some very minor changes, except for the terminology from switching from nursing mother to person with lactation
Correct.
or lactation
person or-
related needs.
yes.
Is that what we landed on that long? People or a person. People or a person with lactation or lactation related needs.
Correct, and
It
it
was
got
an hour.
very, very wordy, and so, when I go back and I look at the go-by, hang on a second, I think if you're all comfortable with it, we could just go with, it give you a choice, it's either nursing mothers, or we could just go, they do say people with lactation or lactation-related needs. I just went, I mean, we could also just go with a person with lactation, people or person.
Yeah, I don't think
if
we have to
just
have
say,
the plural.
I don't
Yeah.
think we need both.
Yeah.
I think just
No,
one will cover
yeah.
it.
Yeah, I agree. I would just say person with lactation or lactation-related needs.
Well, and because we don't have a definitions section, do we need lactation or lactation related needs? Can it just be lactation related needs?
Yeah, because
we
that
don't-
covers lactation.
Right.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was just gonna say lactation
Yes.
needs.
yes.
A person with lactation
Needs.
Related, I'd say related.
related.
Well, it covers, you might need to nurse the baby, you might
A
need to pump
person.
milk. You might,
They're all
With-
lactation needs.
oh, that's true.
A person with lactation needs.
Yeah,
Feel-
that's
it,
fine.
it feels right.
Yeah.
It feels
So-
a lot shorter, that's for sure.
Accommodation of a person with lactation needs.
Yep.
Okay.
And unless there's some kind of definition in state or federal
That's
law
different, yeah.
that stops us from
Never seen it.
Yeah.
our efficiency. You know, give it a. Because really, it's very, I think that's pretty common sense. So yeah, that works for me.
That was really only the
Yeah, that
only
was
thing,
really
because
the
we
only-
talked about not using our own, not having a pump.
Yeah, we didn't,
purchasing
we decided
one.
not to include the pump.
Yep.
Yeah, that's creepy.
Yeah, that was, no, thank you.
It's not for everybody. That looks good.
And we talked to them about making sure we had a location that met the minimum needs.
Did we talk about that? I mean, we have
Yeah.
it. I mean, we chatted about it, but was there language that you wanted around that?
No,
Okay.
no, I just wanted to make sure we were able to accommodate.
Yeah, in each of our buildings, right?
Okay. Well, I think with that one change in terminology throughout, including the title of the policy, accommodation of, we could say people for a title, accommodation of people with lactation needs.
Is it a people or a person?
Well, I feel like the policy title
It's not-
Big
yeah, that would
picture.
be-
is more like
yeah.
people.
Yeah.
Okay.
You get it,
Such a
right?
policy on student behavior.
Okay, so
Student
we're-
The
shall.
title is
I
people, but I
originally
like
had it
person in
parsed.
the
Yeah.
body.
Yeah.
Right. Accommodation of people
People.
with
Lactation
lactation needs.
needs.
All right.
Just the title or throughout?
So
And that doesn't go person
it's people for title,
And person.
for
individual.
policy.
throughout the policy? Okay.
Yeah, so like in some paragraphs, we have
Both.
people or a person, so we need
Just one.
Just-
We'll just
yeah,
go with
just a
person.
Just one.
I'm just gonna go with
How about
Yeah, right,
hippos or
right.
Human,
elephants
right.
with
Homo
special
sapiens,
needs?
Homo
People or
sapiens.
person.
So Superintendent, back to your question about can we meet those minimum standards in every building? Is there already a place?
Yeah,
that
they
meets
do
those minimum
have,
standards?
they have identified areas.
I would think that since it's temporary or permanent and needs to just be in proximity of
Yeah, we
a
try to get it,
refrigerator,
yeah.
that we should be able to meet those needs in every building.
Right, right, and we talked about the little mini fridges.
Yeah, the mini
Yeah.
fridges. We talked to Matt.
All right.
I just used a cooler in the big fridge.
Nice.
Yeah.
They make really
Can't just put it
fancy
in the big
cooler
fridge,
bags
though.
now.
I mean, I just worry
In
when
case
the
somebody
space
gets
is limited.
confused.
you
Well,
know.
that was a little elementary school.
Right.
Like
This
it's
is
not a
Barb's fault.
closet, even though there's
Nobody-
a
no one
closet.
touched it.
That's in proximity to these
It can
locations.
technically be in a hallway with a secluded temporary structure.
Like a curtain.
It can even be more solid than a curtain. That would not create a fire hazard or anything else. It does not require a large space, and a temporary structure is relatively easy to, install in most everywhere.
Okay.
And I would certainly hope we could come up with a mini fridge in a
Yes.
close area.
Well, and I'm sure
Yeah,
if for any time we fail in this capacity, someone can make a complaint.
Yes.
That's what the policy's for, right? And
Under
then-
161.1.
That's right. And 528.2.
Come right at us.
Easy for you all to say.
I know, sorry Kathleen. Okay. Any other questions, comments,
to the
changes
facility.
to policy 528.2?
Yeah, that's right, that's right.
No.
Jim, Karen, Kathleen, thumbs up on this?
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
All right.
it's fine. I have
Then-
no problems.
All right, I'll go ahead and make the motion to move board policy 528.2 to the full board for first reading.
Second.
Ooh,
Jim did second, Jim.
Yeah.
seconded by Jim. All in favor?
Jim's turn.
Aye. Any opposed?
Good
Motion
shit.
passes.
Pass them around.
We're very polite. Good manners.
Yeah.
Everybody have a chance.
Well, I want this one here.
All right.
Alrighty, on to our new policy.
New, so fresh and new. 303, electronic digital records and signatures. I will be the first to raise my hand and say I did not read this before committee.
Well, want some time?
Why don't you, well, it's pretty meaty. How do we feel? Does everybody want 5-10 minutes to read it, or do we want to just have the district walk us through it?
I would just prefer to walk it.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's just walk through it.
All right, well, we start out with our normal purpose section. And I'm not, I've got to be honest, I'm not a real techie type, so please excuse this. It has been shopped, and if we have any changes, I'll get them to you quickly. With Jack and his department, he's looked at it, he sent it on to Maureen, and but this is pretty much word for word from the New Hampshire School Board Association. I didn't get crazy.
So it's based on existing language, and it's been vetted by our techie techs.
It's been vetted.
Which
It's
is a
been it's
highly
been vetted
technical
by
term.
Some of our techie
It's
techs.
been vetted by the people that use it all the time
Okay.
in developing contracts across the board. It would be Michelle and her team in HR. It would be Jack and Maureen in the business department.
Wonderful, thank you.
I got a question on this because as I was reading through it. Okay, so, yes, looking at this, it would allow certain individuals to use electronic records and signatures in communications under the purpose. This is the part I want to really bring home. According to this, it's in communication with parents, guardians, and other persons having control of a child enrolled in the district. Okay? So my first question is business related. It's maybe it has to do with meals or it has to do with
So
other
it wouldn't be like
things.
special ed signing IEPs.
What's that?
Would it be-
Yes, it would.
Could be electronic signatures
If
on
it
it.
has to do with a child, but what I'm thinking is if it's more contractual, and nobody has brought that up to me yet, this is much more related, the way it's written in my mind, to the day-to-day, parent guardians and
Right.
what's
Yeah.
going on with their child in the district.
Yes, but I originally wanted to have this because I felt we need a policy because business-wise
Yep.
and administration-wise, we use a lot of electronic signatures. The president of the board frequently uses an electronic signature to, acknowledge and accept contractual or business, documents. So I kinda wanted to just make sure that we had a general policy to cover that authorize that. for one thing.
May I make a suggestion?
Yep.
Because if you look at Rome 2 applicability, it is a wraparound for all of those things, it looks like. So it's for people having control or charge of a child,
FERPA.
eligible students, individuals affiliated with the district, whether employees or not, paid or unpaid, including but not limited to teachers, administrators, students, affiliates, and volunteers.
So that's pretty much everything.
It's everybody.
Except it
The
doesn't- what about
applicability, I'm good
vendors?
with. That's the way I'd like to
About
see it.
vendors and stuff.
Do we want
It
to
doesn't,
add
it's
we
the
need to-
business piece.
board
that-
members,
Well,
vendors?
the
Well, it does
vendors,
say
vendors
district,
have a
whether
contract,
employees
so
or-
vendors
So
have
it's
a
still a
contract.
business contract.
It's a contract.
What a vendor would be signing is a
Right,
contract, and so
right.
contracts are, yeah.
So you're okay with that from what you
So
were looking
I would
for?
even suggest moving the applicability into the purpose section,
Yeah.
and then just get rid of that
Last
second sentence, that last sentence.
The following, the board adopts, get rid
Yeah.
of that one?
Yes.
Just
Move
just
applicability up?
Yep.
Yeah.
So now, I mean, because it does relate
It's
to
repetitive anyway.
student activity, but we want to make sure that we're also talking about just the general business administration of the district.
Right.
And I don't know, I feel like board member maybe needs to be added. I mean, I guess we are affiliated with the district. It's a decent catch-all, it's fine.
Well, it says included but not limited to teachers, administrators,
Everyone.
students, affiliates, we're
Yeah.
affiliates.
It's
So I
everything
think,
and everyone.
no more words.
Yeah, too many words.
All right, I'm good with that.
Okay. Definition section's pretty lean. I took out, because of the way we're starting to do our definitions, where we just launch right in, attribution or attributable to is instead of period and electric. Same with and all the way down, so those were my changes in yellow, recommended. In fact, all of the ones you see in yellow throughout the policy, as far as the language goes, were just mine. And then I have one under number 3, when you get to it on page 2. If y'all aren't there yet, I can wait.
We were gonna pull that.
We
Number
are.
3.
Well, now we are, because you said you didn't want it, but because it's in there, I have to tell you.
Yeah.
So.
Right, is this a surprise for our
No,
superintendent?
we've talked about
Number
it. We
3,
just want you to
number
know.
3, it looks like I've gotta keep track of everybody's PIN and password.
Yeah, it's
I mean,
optional.
that is,
Why don't we read that out loud?
Teeny tiny job.
No, I
To
know,
the
I
extent
know, but-
practicable, the superintendent will implement and maintain a system to require a secure hard copy log of the PIN/password or actual signature of any individual authorized to provide an electronic signature on behalf of the district or on behalf of the school board specifically. So there's that school board piece.
So you could do this by giving it to someone else.
You could delegate
The
it to you.
superintendent
This is
or
your
their
job.
And it is
designee.
We're not-
optional.
we're
I just
not-
want to be clear, it is optional, but when I put it in there, Kathleen and I talked about it, and we were like, and the decision was, no, don't want the best practice, but because it was in the board go-by from the New Hampshire School Board, I wanted you to see it.
so my signature is in there. It's already in there, so all I do is when I have a contract or some document, I just hit signature, and the signature that I chose
Yeah.
comes up. So it's in log, it's it's logged as part of the system.
But this is saying
But
a
I'm not
hard
Yeah,
copy.
but how
Keeping a
about-
password or
how
a
about-
PIN number.
Yeah, we don't use, and I'm remembering, I never used a password or PIN, just you had my signature
Right,
and
right,
authorization.
right.
So,
That's why I
maybe
would-
the term password PIN needs to be better. You still have to have a record of the fact that
That's right.
I'm
We
on-
have your signature.
and that I have an electronic
That's
ability
right.
to do that, or I did when I was the president of the
Right.
board, and I would
Think
expect
what
that
would
there's a
happen if
limited
somebody
number
got a
of
hold
people
of
who
the
can.
passwords? What would
Yeah.
happen if somebody got a hold of the
Yeah.
passwords and then used your signature on everything?
Yeah. Huh, they'll
Yeah,
soon
so
find out that
I
doesn't-
just don't know how this works, just so if If the superintendent has something for the board president to sign, then you verbally authorize?
No, what will
Says-
happen, what has happened in, at least in my experience with this, is if there is something important that I need to review as a president of the board and sign on behalf of the board, it is sent electronically to me.
Okay.
And
And
just like
then-
anything.
Electronically, I would have an area where I
Got
would
it,
have to
okay.
go in
That's what I thought.
and
Okay.
authorize my electronic signature.
I did it
to be a part
twice
of that.
today with financial
Yes.
stuff.
Right, I
You
mean,
can use
we
a
do
system.
it every day, I just
Because
never
we
really
have-
think
But I
about the
don't
back
think
end.
of
Yeah.
any pin or password to
None,
do it, it
no,
was
none.
just the setup as an authorization.
And
Which
I have
why I
a
think
password to
pin and
log into my
pass-
bank account, but that has nothing to do with my electronic signature.
No,
Right.
so,
So the PIN or password would be, just to play the devil's advocate, would be you have a set PIN for Jim to then type into that space?
maybe, but
is that what
they
they're
use
talking
actual
about?
signature, which
Yeah,
is
it's
what.
weird.
Right, to
what
show that
we
it's
do.
an authentic
The doc-
authorization.
Let me, Liz, the document is loaded into a tool called DocuSign.
Yeah, it's a
Okay,
pure.
all right.
Then it goes
document.
in there, and then within that, it has the, whatever, let's say it's my contract, right? Superintendent's contract. So, it goes to Jim and he signs it. He's already got a signature, he's chose it, he's part of the system now, so everything we ever sent to him, he had the same signature. And then it comes back to me, I sign it, and then it hits wherever it goes, right, to the next.
I was just trying to understand how the PIN password.
Yeah, that,
We don't
how
use
where
the
that
PIN
came
password.
from.
But is that PIN password, is you would have a PIN that you would type in instead of a signature, is that?
Perhaps
Probably.
to authorize to
Or to
authorize
author-
approval. In some software packages, you may have a pin or
Yeah, I
something.
don't
For
So
me,
maybe
it
it's
was a
just
secure-
encompassing, I bet you it's
Yeah.
just encompassing a different software package.
I
Could be,
think this is to
could
make
be.
it broad,
Okay,
Could be.
and we may not need it to be as broad.
right.
So it
So
it
it's
says
optional,
or
so-
actual signature, which is what we have.
What you do.
Yep.
I just.
Which is the one he chose to sign all the documents. I mean, this
The
saves
last
us
thing I
a lot of
needed was
time.
another pin.
Yeah.
Right.
No, I
If,
get
if
it. I
we wanna
was trying
just
to
bounce
understand.
that, then we would renumber after that.
Well, I don't mind if we have the actual signature piece, but it's the log of PIN and password, because we don't use it, and I don't want
This
anybody
says-
to think now we're gonna
This
assign
says
pins
pin,
and
password, or
passwords.
actual signature, and we're just going with the or.
Right,
Yeah, let's just,
Right.
I think we should just, it's optional, we should just get rid of it.
You know, you
Yeah.
can just,
It is, it's purely optional. It says right here.
okay.
I see it.
I mean, yeah, I mean, unless we have an intent to create, like, if our goal is to create a system where we're securing these things, it sounds like it doesn't exist now. And we don't want to direct the superintendent to make one.
I would get rid of this, because then there's gonna be, somehow some auditor's gonna go looking in a safe somewhere for this log.
yeah.
And then it has to be
when
updated all
you-
the
And it would
time.
have to be continuously updated, and we're not just talking about president of the board, we're talking about business people
Everybody.
associated with this district and all. It seems to me like it's a maintenance nightmare a little bit when it's not needed.
But you have multiple authentication, right?
Yes.
You all do.
Right,
Oh,
and
yeah,
I-
you
Yeah.
can't use, you
Right.
can't use it on your own end
Right,
until you
so you
verify
can't even get
that you
into
are.
the system
Right.
until you've identified yourself twice.
Right.
Precisely,
Right.
yes.
Yeah, you get like a text, if it's on your phone, like a text
Yeah.
code and.
Yeah.
Right, right.
Does
Yeah,
this
we have
address-
multi-factor authentication.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Well, which brings me to number 5, any electronic records or electronic signatures technology shall comply with the district's data governance and
Yeah.
security plan. Does this plan exist?
Yes, it does.
Because I assume that it covers multi-factor authentication,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
what brings it up. So,
Which is another
Not-
plan.
It's not a foolish question.
Yeah.
It's
It was a
question that needs
great
to be
question.
asked.
Yeah.
As you recall, Dan was here at least a year ago, maybe a little bit longer, and your policy, the governance plan requires that we come back to you. So that happens to be another plan that you will, Dan will come in and review
Dan
with
with
you.
the
Because you
plan.
have to do that annually.
okay, all right.
So, just saying.
So are we deleting 3?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think it makes us all very nervous. But I thought it's important to at least have the discussion, because I don't think we should be scared of, like Karen, I'm also not a techie tech. And so I don't want to not include something just because I don't understand it. It sounds like we don't need it.
We
I
don't need
appreciate
it.
the discussion.
Yeah, okay. And then I guess to that end, my only other question on this is, again, because I'm trusting that the right departments and the right people have seen this, are we backing ourselves into a corner with any of this policy? Like, is
No.
it so tight? Is the security so tight that it's not achievable?
No, and it's actually helped us in expedited things much quicker.
Okay.
It's had the complete opposite, really, when you
Okay.
think about it.
Great.
And for parents, it's helpful.
Oh, hugely
you know,
helpful.
Yeah.
be-
Parents that
They
don't
were at a
drive,
meeting, but
yeah.
then things get changed and they agree to them, just like here, agree to the amendments, but then the case manager will send it to them for their
I
signature.
can remember driving
Oh, I-
IEPs to parents' homes, like,
Yeah,
because
no more.
you
We
need
don't
it
have
They have to
signed.
sign it. Oh,
I remember the extensive discussions that this board had relative to even just permission slips.
Oh, my God, yeah, that's right.
I think this is a good policy to have.
great. I see you looking at the NHSBA language.
Yes.
Is there anything missing or anything
No,
that
it's
stands
really-
out?
It's pretty much straightforward.
Standard,
to
okay.
this, even the format.
By the
Wonderful.
way, in addition to IEPs, we would use the 504 too.
Yeah.
Right.
Because
And
my,
please
my,
forgive the formatting, because this is first draft, I just threw it out in front of you, so
No,
Bridget has not had a chance.
It's looking good. It's got numbers, it's got letters.
Yeah, it's getting better.
Yeah, sounds good.
We got a purpose,
So
so.
I will say, with the amendment of moving the applicability up into the purpose statement, with the approval of all the little highlighted changes, with the removal of 3 because it is optional, with noting on page 3 that you rename it the board president, not the board chair, which is correct. I personally would be comfortable moving this to the board for first reading, with understanding that those changes will happen before it goes to the board packet. Does anybody have any concerns with that, questions about that?
No.
Great, then I will go ahead and make that motion to move policy 303 to the full board for first reading. Is there a second?
Second.
I'm giving this one to Barb. Seconded by Barb
It's okay.
Higgins. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
Okay.
And we have reached the end of our agenda. Is there anything else anyone like
Right,
to
you
bring
win.
up?
Anything else that you folks want to bring to us at this point?
Oh, so let's
Update us
just,
on?
will you just let us, as a group, know what the plan is for the plans? So it sounds like we've got a plan that needs to come to us.
Yeah, we have some plans that you don't, the policy requires, I'm gonna use suicide, because I'd like to bring that to you, to your April 9th meeting. Suicide policy requires that the plan be brought to the policy committee for review. Not necessarily going in and
Acceptance,
changing it,
right,
but
just
it's more of
reviewing it.
information, and then it really substantiates the policy, right? That we did that in front of you, and the policy committee did their job. So I've scheduled Fern to come in and do the April 9th meeting. I kind of left it alone, but, maybe we could get something else in that night too. I'll see. It is a pretty heavy-duty one, so I don't know how long it's gonna take you to go through it. We
I
have
always say-
several other plans that need to be done. We have a district-wide health manual that is like within days of being finalized, reviewed by nurses, by administrators, by Karen, by me, by certainly Laura Anderson, our head nurse. So I'd like to bring that. The data governance plan has to come to you. That's an annual report. And then John has his special ed plan that he has to bring to you, again, for your consumption, but not necessarily for any change. So it's just happens to be those things that have to be done annually, and they're all coming kind of at the same time. But
I'm okay with that, but could you get it to us in advance?
yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yes, that's
And you know
my
what,
only
Jim?
request.
So we can
That's
read
a
it to
great
fall
point.
asleep at
They're all
night?
done. They're all
Over
completed.
several months.
So we'll
that's
spread them out a little bit.
voluminous.
All right, I won't send you 4 or 5 plans at once.
Well, I would ask the question, do we want to have one meaty session that's all about plans, and then we have a
That's all we
plan,
do.
Your call.
a presentation, a review, we check it off the list.
I can do that.
Yeah.
I can
I
set all
actually
of
like
that
that
up.
if we get the plans in advance, so we can read over
Yeah, yeah.
several.
Right, it's almost like a study as opposed to like trickling them out. But again, that's about staffing, that's about
Yeah.
timing, you let us know.
So let me see what I can do for April 9th. It'd be a nice break away from some of the policies. You've been through a lot of policies, discrimination and all those, which were heavy hitters, right? We do have Title IX to come back and make some.
2020.
All right. I
Sorry.
told her you can't talk about it. It has some minor changes to go back to the 2020, so. But I wanted to take a little bit of a respite from that, and it holds where it is now, so I felt okay about that. But you have some other things that needed to be addressed. We also have a policy called crowdfunding,
Right.
and Jack has been one that really wants to be able to
I
clean
think
that
we'd
up.
all really like to see it.
Yeah, we really feel like it needs some attention in the district, because there's so many ways that this crowdfunding has happened, and some of us are a
Yeah.
little uncomfortable with it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm seeing
You know,
crowdfunding requests and email signatures.
We had somebody that wanted our DUN number. You can't have our DUN number, district number,
Right.
for some group that wants to raise money on behalf of a school. Access so much information, so, we want to tighten it up. So we have a proposal.
Gladly support that effort.
We have a
would like to see that.
proposal
Some of our
that
booster clubs come to
I
I
haven't
know,
really
right?
spent a lot of time reviewing, but I will. It's really been Jack's baby.
Okay, that sounds good. You let us know how best to bring the plans to us, but I
Yeah,
think.
let me see what I can do for the April 9th, right?
I think that's the only one you haven't really seen. Because
Yeah,
they've seen
I-
joint loss committee, they've seen discrimination,
Yep,
they've seen,
yeah, it's these policies. Let me see what I can do to
Okay,
get it all
yep.
together, and
You
who's
just let us
available,
know.
and to the degree that it's ready for your review.
Okay,
All right?
that sounds good. All right, any other matters before us? If not, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Second, moved by Barb, seconded by Liz, all in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned at 6:38.
So the summer, I have to tell a story now.